be real with me.
Yeah. I'm always real.
Let's engage on this one.
Yes. Mark Carney's made it his business to make a lot of money for big corporations, but often ignoring, neglecting, and hurting working class folks. You know when someone's your friend when you're in a fight. That's when you're not going to see Pierre Poilievre.
I want to know about you, though.
That's why I care so much about public health, because my dad, when he was in the worst of his addiction, end-stage alcoholism is when you stop eating food and you just drink.
On Valentine's Day, I had a date with Jagmeet Singh. He waltzed into the Canadaland studio, munching on banana bread. He shook everyone's hand and hung up his coat and assured me that he could handle any hot seat. Look, I've watched a lot of interviews he's given. He's kind of always sounded the same. Dental care this, Galen Weston that, and I was absolutely determined to learn something new. I wanted him to be real with me, to address reality, because things are not looking good for him or his party. And boy, I was not disappointed. Last week, an internal NDP memo was leaked, and it said that the NDP is gearing up for an election, that they think it'll happen on March 10th. So that's where I started. Only after I gave him a little Valentine's Day gift. Let's get into it. Okay, Jagmeet, I have a gift for you.
Oh my goodness.
I know you like fancy cars.
Oh my goodness, do I ever?
I saw. I know it's not maybe your taste.
Oh no, this is the best. Hot Wheels are the best.
Hot Wheels. I popped by the Dollarama.
Okay.
Yesterday.
I appreciate that.
Thought,
What would be ideal is if you just put the car out somewhere and I just walk by beside it and we have someone take a picture of that. Because then that will be very on brand.
So.
Yeah.
I saw the memo. March 10th. Mark Carney.
Yes.
Feels like that's right around the corner. Do you know something we don't know?
Yeah, that's what we're getting, that's when he's going to call it. Interesting, when the question was put to him, he didn't deny it. So if it was not going to happen, he'd be like, no, of course not. And he didn't deny it. So we're preparing for that. And we're ready for an election. We're ready for that. And I think Mark Carney is really showing Canadians what his real priorities are. And he's got a long career to show who he's prioritized in his career. He has made it his business and his career to make a lot of money for big corporations, but often ignoring, neglecting, and hurting working class folks, everyday folks. And I think we're already seeing a bit of that. He said that giving Canadians a break on their GST was a bad idea, but he thinks it's a good idea to give a tax break to millionaires to do a flip-flop on the capital gains thing. So he's really showing you like, oh, capital gains? Yeah, I'm going to flip-flop on that and give millionaires a big tax cut. But for working class folks or everyday folks, no, they don't deserve one. So I think he's giving you his priorities.
You said Mark Carney's hurt working class people. Maybe elaborate on that.
Yeah. One of the things that he did was he was a part of a company. He was one of the heads of the company, leading this company that was going to go public. And right before it went public, he fired over 1,000 workers just to jack up the initial public offering, the IPO, so they could have a bigger IPO. They were profitable. They had no issue. Like sometimes a company has a downturn. They got to restructure because of a downturn. They were highly profitable, doing really well. But just to bump up their shares, he fired over 1,000 workers.
Hey, it's Future Noor here. We looked into the accusations Jagmeet made about Mark Carney. The company he's referring to is called Stripe. It hasn't IPO'd yet. He's also not the head of the company. He's on the board of directors. Peace out.
And the other one was when he was the head of Brookfield. This is a company, it's a corporate landlord, and Torontonians know this really well, where a corporation will come in and buy up their building, a corporate landlord, and basically rent evict. So you kick out the tenants that are there, slap on maybe a new marble counter, and then put that home back onto the market for a lot more and make a lot more money for the shareholders. But
and they're
you're
usually
renovating.
shittily built. The floors are like coming apart. Yeah,
exactly.
I've seen those.
Yeah. So that's it. So he's done that as a head of Brookfield Place, big corporate landlord that's done that again and again. He's in it for that big corporation.
I want to know about you, though.
Yeah, tell me.
I have heard the billionaire stuff, but I want to know if they don't call an election. I'm a politics journalist, so I need to plan my vacations, obviously. Yes. Are you calling an election?
It would be Carney that's going to call it because there's no way for any opposition leader to call it early. the only opportunity would be if we were back in Parliament and there was a vote in Parliament. But I don't think...
Would you vote?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen because Mark Carney's made it pretty clear when he gets elected, quickly afterwards, he's going to call an election.
But would you?
Yeah, well, this is what I've said. I want to see Parliament get recalled now and us put in place protections for workers now, because why wait for 2 months while people suffer? We already have workers that are being laid off and losing their jobs with steel and aluminum tariffs.
Okay. We talked Mark Carney.
Yeah.
We're no longer talking about anybody else but you and
Let's
the
go.
NDP.
I love it.
Okay. I'm not the type of person to usually obsess over the polls, but I am curious if you've seen them lately because they're not really looking too good. A year ago, when Trudeau and the Liberals were a sinking ship, you broke up with them, you tore up the supply and confidence agreement, and the Conservatives came in, swooped in, and kind of soaked up all that momentum. And now we're seeing another one of these momentum shifts. The Conservative support is slipping post-Trump tariffs and with the Liberals teasing like fresh new leadership. But it feels like the momentum is still not shifting towards you and the NDP. Be real with me. Like, things aren't really going your way the past little while, have they?
Well, I mean, it's hard. Like, what's the criteria for going our way? Like, we got 1.5 million people just received dental care. I got into politics to make a difference in people's lives, and I'm committed to that. I didn't get into this thinking it was going to be easy to be a New Democrat. If I wanted the easy path, I would have been a liberal or a conservative. But I chose a path where I believed in using the power I have to help out people. And I'm proud of that. Like, that's why I got into politics. And now we've changed the laws around worker protection. We've made childcare the law of the land, guaranteeing people access to affordable childcare. All the things you put together, funding for pharmacare, including diabetes medication and birth control for free, and the dental care program, which is a brand new program covering so many people. I mean, those are significant. Those are things that I wanted to get done for people.
But the criteria is if people are going to vote for you, right? So I don't know.
I mean, I would love for people to vote for me, absolutely. But for me, I mean, it's hard for folks to imagine this. But New Democrats, if you look at our history, as a party, our goal was always to help people, number one. Our number one goal is when we were in a position of power, how do we help people out? If you asked me at the time when we said, okay, should we do this agreement or not? Lots of people told me it may not be popular. It may not be politically the best idea.
Yeah.
You know, we're not sure. But we certainly know it's going to help people out. For me, it was no debate. I'm going to help people out. That's my number one goal. My goal to get into politics was let's make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
And ideally, I hope people will see, hey, look what I did with my power. You gave me an opportunity to use power in a meaningful way. I used it for people. But ultimately, the final poll that matters is on Election Day. And until then, I'm going to give people the choice. People have been let down by the Liberals. The Conservatives are going to cut the things you need. It's going to cost them.
Let down by you a little bit? Like, your position is really important where you're at in the polls, how people are receiving you. Are you planning on doing things a little differently than you have in the past year? Like, is there something that's going to change?
Well, I don't think, people can see like what we've done. We've always lifted up people. Like in the pandemic, we were the ones that fought for folks. In the next minority government, we are the ones that delivered anything that the Liberals can point to, anything that Justin Trudeau can point to that they achieved was because we forced them to do it. Every single thing. So we've always lifted up people, and there's going to be a choice in the next election, and I want to make sure people know the choice they're making. On the conservative side of things, people kind of want to change, so they think, oh, maybe conservative.
Yeah.
But I think people need to know the cost of conservatives. Like if they cut the things like Pierre Poilievre talks about things.
No conservative talk. We're talking about you.
Well, but it's hard you can't separate it, right? Because anyone wants to know about me, they're going to have to know about the choices between me and the others. Like it's inherently a part of it. So I'm saying we got to defend our healthcare system, and the conservatives want to cut it.
It kind of sounds like you're saying that what the NDP is accomplishing and what it can accomplish is by forcing or influencing other parties to get things done instead of actually being the winning party. Is that fair?
No, that's just what we've done. I'm just talking about what has happened so far. And so I hope that is proof to people that we can achieve things. And so when I say as prime minister, I want to achieve these next things. I want to drop the price of groceries by putting in a price cap. I want to lower the cost of homes by banning corporate landlords from buying in a buying an affordable building. When I say these things, I want people to know that it can happen because I've delivered on things. And there's not really been any recent New Democrat leaders that have been able to deliver things in that way.
I told our listeners that we'd be chatting with you, and I got a bunch of emails. But I got an email from James from small town Konnert, Ontario. I'm going to read you a bit of it.
Oh, yeah, I know Konnert. I've been there.
Okay. It says, my dad was a blue-collar worker, a mechanic and a truck driver. He supported the NDP because back then he felt they stood up for the little guy. I always took this to mean those who were less educated and worked with their hands. My dad wouldn't recognize today's NDP because it seems they're having an identity crisis. In the Jagmeet Singh era, they appear more interested in appealing to those in a gender studies faculty. And clearly, that's come at the expense of the blue-collar voter, who have astonishingly migrated to the Conservatives. What do you say to James and his dad?
Well, I would say his dad now has dental care because we fought for it and delivered it. And so millions of seniors in our country now are able to get their teeth fixed because we fought for it. I would say that we fought to deliver things that actually make people's lives better. Concretely, working class folks are going to get real help from these programs that we fought for. And that's our roots. Okay, whenever there's been a strike in the past year and workers have been on strike and there's been a fight between the big bosses and the workers, we're the only ones that showed up. I've been to every major strike, whether it's the rail workers, the postal workers, or the port workers, which were the three major strikes in the past year. Every one of those protests, every one of those strikes, I've been with those workers on the ground. You didn't see Pierre Poilievre show up to a single one of those strikes.
Well, he was at 60 local unions and toured 40 different unionized
but never showed up
workplaces.
to a strike. It's an important thing. So you know when someone's your friend, not in times are good. You know when someone's your friend when you're in a fight. When you're squared up, you're in a fight, and you're like, all right, who's going to stand with me in a fight? And then you look around, that's when you're not going to see Pierre Poilievre. Sure, you'll see him on a good day, sunny day, having a lunch with some workers. But what about when those workers are in the cold, on strike, because they're being denied fairness by their bosses? You're not going to see Pierre Poilievre then. And that, to me, is a true test of a friend. A friend is not someone who's there on sunny days. A friend is someone with you when it's tough and it's cold. It's minus 15 out there in Ottawa, and we showed up for the postal workers that were on strike.
So then why do you think there are people who have this interpretation of you and your party of like abandoning the working class? Is it a comms issue? Is it a campaign issue? Yeah, why do you think so?
Conservatives have lots of money, and they've been spending that on ads, and those ads go right to people's phones. They outspend us by $1 gazillion to one. Like, they have way more money than us, and so it's effective. Like, ads work, and they've made a lot of ads attacking us for not being there for people, when the track record of the Conservatives, like evidence-based, is they voted against minimum wage. They voted against unions being able to fight for fair wages. They voted against workers again and again. Pierre Poilievre made himself out when he first got elected as an MP as the first federally elected person to bring in right to work laws in Canada, which are anti-union, anti-worker. So here's a guy who's clearly anti-worker. But if you run a lot of ads and say, hey, I'm on your side, it's compelling and people see that. But it's not the truth. So we brought in concrete things that actually make working people's lives better. He has done none of those things. And so I'm hoping that when I get a chance in a campaign, when the field is a bit more level, I can show folks, hey, this is what I've done with my time. This is what I'm committed to. These are my priorities. And what has he done with that same minority government? Nothing that he can show.
I want to go back to James's email. There was a specific complaint that you care more about these university-educated gender studies students than workers. I think there's a notion there that you can't be for both.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an attempt to separate kind of working people and the working or middle class and pit kind of folks against each other. And it's kind of the conservative way to try to make
How
it like,
so?
Well, their goal is to try to pit someone who's in a gender study class against a person that's a worker at a factory or a mechanic. Both of those folks are going to be working class, unless the person that's taking that course is like going to inherit $1 billion from their parents. Most folks are going to be working class. You're going to trade your time for money. And all of us are in that struggle together, unless you're the elite that don't have to worry about those things. And we are better off when we're together. When a mechanic and a nurse and a university student all realize that we're all our condition of life, our realities are far more similar than the realities of a CEO, of Galen Weston, who runs Loblaws. Like, his life is completely different from the life of these working class folks. And the more we understand that, the better. And my goal is to get the anger not against someone who's taking a course in university. My goal is to say, let's get angry at Galen Weston that's ripping you off. Let's get angry at...
It took us 15 minutes to get to Galen Weston.
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting.
Oh, I'm definitely going to get there.
Name.
But anyway, I mean, the head of Metro, the head of Sobeys, the Walmart, Costco, all these corporate grocery stores are ripping us off. That's what we should be angry about.
Okay.
Let's add in Bell, Rogers, TELUS, like the cell phone companies are ripping us off.
But this division, it's working, right? It really does suck that so many of these issues get slapped with this woke label and it becomes this kind of like political poison. But that's where we're at right now, unfortunately. So if you're actually trying to win, do you pick one?
No, we try to unite people and make the argument, like kind of the original workers of the world unite. That's like the original kind of socialist slogan. But the idea is, we should unite together. Who is really the threat to that mechanic? Is it a person taking a course in university, or is it a corporate landlord that's going to buy up all the affordable homes in Konnert? Who's really the threat to a person that's working on a factory line? Is it someone that looks a bit different from them? Or is it a corporate grocery store that continues to rip you off by, in the past, bread price fixing, literally fixing the price of bread, colluding together to rip us off? Or now more recently with the price of meat, they've been found again to do another scandal where across the boards in a systemic way, big corporate grocery stores were weighing the packaging along with the meat. And they were found guilty of doing that. Like the Competition Bureau came out very recently in the past couple of weeks and said, hey, this is a practice that's going on. So again and again, we're seeing examples of people getting ripped off by these corporations that want to make money on them. That's what we got to go after. That's where I want to direct the anger. Let's change and protect Canadians better. Let's protect consumers better. And let's put in place rules that actually give people a shot at building a good life.
After the break, I asked Jagmeet about his fancy-ass watches and those fancy-ass cars. I'm going to ask you a question that I have gotten a lot of comments about, a lot of emails. It was probably the most commented thing on Reddit. You've gotten a lot of shit for being a flashy guy, for wearing nice watches, having nice cars, and look, I like a nice watch too. But we had on your previous comms director, Melanie Richer, on an episode, and she gave us a really interesting reason on why you do this. I'm going to play you a clip.
Jagmeet has spent a lot of his life wearing the expensive suits, driving the expensive cars to show that he belongs, to show that he should be taken seriously as a lawyer and not the defendant, to show that, he shouldn't be stopped by cops, to show that he's a serious politician.
She went on to say other things like it's kind of like an armor for you. What do you think?
Well, I would say suits were definitely an armor for me. I got into law school and I graduated and I wanted to work in the field, and I needed to look the part. Like, I need to look like someone that you could say, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. This is a good lawyer. So wearing a good suit was something my dad also was a physician and still is, still practicing. And he kind of taught me that, people aren't going to take you seriously unless you look the part. So he would always, polish his own shoes and try to dress sharp when he went into work, because people would second guess him. He had an accent and say maybe he's not educated, maybe he's not actually qualified. So he really wanted to show that he was ready for the job. So he'd always take a moment to care about the way he looked. And so that was part of what I did to try to take a moment to dress well so that I could be taken seriously in the role. But I mean, a lot of it's like I don't actually own any fancy cars at all. I have no, like, this is kind of like a made up thing now. Like when I was a lawyer, I had a BMW that people reference. I don't own that anymore. That's been sold. And so I don't actually own any fancy car at all. And
watch?
I was gifted a watch my dad. And so, I have gifts from my family. But my real reality is, when I was 20, this is who I am. When I was 20, that same my dad, who I love, who's amazing, who I look up to, I admire to this day. I think he's incredible. His story is like it's a movie. Like learning on a dirt floor in a village school and becoming the head of psychiatry in a hospital in Canada. Like that story is incredible. But that same person that I admire also struggled with an addiction and lost his license and his ability to practice, and became very scary and violent and dangerous. So much so that when I was 20, going to university, my kid brother, who's 15, had to come live with me. Mm-hmm. And I remember having that tough chat with my mom that, hey, like I don't think Ruthan's safe at home. And she, as a mom, had to admit that her baby boy, because no matter how old he gets, he's still her baby boy, wasn't safe at home. And so I'm 20, going to university, taking care of a kid brother, helping him go to school, helping him with his homework, registering his classes. And then I got a call from my mom saying, Dad's taking a turn from the worst. We can't send any money to support you. And as the eldest sibling, I had to give her confidence. Like, don't worry, Mom, I got this. You take care of Dad. I'll take care of Ruthan. And then I panicked and went out and got 3 minimum wage jobs as a 20-year-old going to university. I worked in Aldo's, stocking shoes in the back. And I wasn't cool enough / I was all dusty to be in the showroom floor. So anytime I peeked my head out, they'd be like, go in the back. And I had to run back and keep on stocking shoes. I worked at another jean store. I worked at another clothing store. So I pieced together more than full-time hours. And I worked hard to be able to keep my brother, make sure he was fed food and that I had food on the table for him. And so that's the struggle that I lived. And then my parents had to go through bankruptcy. We lost our home. So I've experienced those struggles, those worries. And I think about how today I made it through those tough times. But people right now, with the cost of living as high as it is, groceries as expensive as they are, homes and rent as high as it is, I would not have been able to make it. Well, I made it through that time, but people today couldn't make it through. So that's what I think about. That's where I come from. That's my reality. And I ask people to consider what Pierre Poilievre was doing when he was 20, what was Justin Trudeau or Mark Carney doing when they're 20. I'm sure they weren't taking care of their kid brother, working 3 minimum wage jobs to try to keep food on the table.
Why have you never shared this or addressed this kind of champagne socialist comments before?
I have. I've shared this story a bunch of times. Like it's a big part of my life. Like we went through lots of financial difficulties. I was the eldest and I had to support my family. There was a number of years, maybe I haven't talked about this in the next part as much, but from the time I graduated law school into my 30s, I was the sole income earner. Took care of my mom, my dad, my kid brother. I was the one that paid the bills, paid the mortgage, took care of everything. Until my dad actually, one of the first things I did as a lawyer was to help him get back his license. He had that's why I care so much about public health, because my dad, when he was in the worst of his addiction, end stage alcoholism is when you stop eating food and you just drink. And so he was only drinking, not eating, and he got hospitalized a bunch of times. And some of his friends were the physicians that were treating him because he was a doctor in the same circles. And they're like, if you keep on doing this, you're going to die. And he had been hospitalized multiple times in 1 month. And then something happens, and this happens if you've ever met someone that's gone through an addiction. He had this moment, he's like, I want to live. And in that moment, we scrambled, and we didn't have money. He didn't have private insurance anymore. He didn't have anything. So we had to find a public rehab center. And there was one spot by chance that had a bed available in Windsor. And to this day, I'm thankful. I'm a donor of that place. I appreciate them so much. So they took him in. He was able to turn his life around. He beat his addiction and then worked to try to get back his license. And one of the first things I negotiated was him getting back his license with the college. And then he was back on his feet and he said, listen, I'll take it from here. And then it took a lot of weight off my shoulder. And that's actually around the time when my brother convinced me to run in politics. So I wouldn't have otherwise done it because I couldn't have afforded to take that time off because I was paying all the bills, supporting the family.
I appreciate you sharing that. And You're running. You're running to be the next Prime Minister of Canada.
Yes, indeed.
I get you're running. What's plan B if you don't win?
Oh, there's no plan B. It's all plan A.
What do you mean there's no plan B?
No, plan A only. You can't go into an election thinking anything other than I'm running to win. And I want folks to know that I believe in it. And honestly, this is why I believe in it. And it's changed over the years. Mm-hmm. What's changed was 2 minority governments in a row. Literally just opened my eyes in a way that I would not have had this insight before. I ran in 2019 and we had just come out of a majority government and I wanted to become prime minister then, but I didn't have the same insight. So after 2019, we were in minority governments. Mm-hmm. So right after that election, it was a minority government and then pandemic hit. And I can tell people genuinely, without any hesitation, that in the worst of it, the only reason why people got help, real help, was because of us. We fought and forced the Liberals to bring in the CERB in the first place. There's like lots of questions where I'm saying, hey, what are you going to do when people can't work, when everything gets shut down? And the answer from the government at the time was, oh, EI will take care of them. And I said, EI only covers 40% of workers. And I said this again and again. So we fought for CERB to bring in that help for people. They were trying to cancel it.
Through the Liberals, right?
Well, I mean, we were in a minority government. So yeah, we forced the Liberals to do it. They didn't want to do it. And then initially they wanted to start at a lower amount. We forced them to double it. They wanted to cut it off multiple times. They threatened to cut it off. I said, no, if you cut it off, I'm not going to support you. It's not going to happen. We kept it going.
You were in a supply and confidence agreement with the Liberals, and you pressured them to pass things like pharmacare and dental care. And I know that you're really proud of that. And I know it was a big part of why you went into this agreement. Last I heard, the relationship is on rocky waters. So how are you planning to get things like that done if you don't win?
No, I'm not thinking like that. I'm thinking that...
So there's no plan B?
No. We're focused on, in this campaign, I want to make the case to people. I've delivered meaningful things. As Prime Minister, I can do so much more for you. And 25 MPs, we were just 25, that brought in the biggest expansion of our healthcare since we brought it in. Because until now, until the dental care program, healthcare has been cut back. There's been cuts, it's been eroding, it's getting longer and longer wait times. This is the first expansion ever, literally, and we were the ones that made it happen. If we could do that, the first ever expansion of our healthcare since we brought it in with 25 MPs, I really want people to imagine what we could do if we had 100 MPs, if we were actually in government. If I was Prime Minister, imagine the things we could do. And so, yeah, I'm all in on Plan A.
And there's no Plan B.
No,
so
we're fighting to win.
Does that mean if you lose, you step down?
No, we're not even thinking about that. Like the way we got to go into this is people expect you.
Relentless optimism.
Yeah,
man.
you got it. Like, because if people are like, they're making an important choice. Like they're going to vote. They don't want to vote for a person who's already thinking about losing. No, I'm thinking about winning for people.
But there are people who really like you who have said, you know, Justin Trudeau recognized the moment, that previous Conservative leaders recognized the moment, and they wonder when that moment is for you.
Well, definitely not now. We're going to an election, so definitely not now. Obviously, at some point in life, people will make a decision, but I'm nowhere near there. Right now, we're in front of an election. I'm ready to go. I'm running for Prime Minister, and that's my focus.
That's what you're giving me?
Yeah, of course, with full confidence. 100%. I don't think people would expect a leader of a party to say anything less than I'm running to win. And I genuinely, not just I'm running to win for people, because I've shown you give me power, I use it for you.
I hear you. I guess I just think back to when Biden stepped down and he didn't line up a successor and he took a lot of shit. And then Trudeau stepped down, didn't really line up a successor, and he took a lot of shit. I'm curious if there's someone in your circles. Are you lining someone up? Are you thinking about the future in that way as well?
No. Because right now we have an election that's going to happen like this year. So I'm focused on the election, and that's it. The focus is on giving people a real choice in this election, and that's got to be my focus. Otherwise, I'm doing a disservice to the position I'm in, to the people that trusted me with this position, and to the electors, to the voters. Like they got a choice to make, and I'm all in on that choice. If you care about healthcare, keeping it public, I care deeply about it being public. My dad would not be here today if we had to pay for that rehab center. The only reason my dad is alive today and is still practicing is because there was a publicly available rehab center that did not charge him any money.
Okay. Be real with me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I'm always real.
Let's engage on this one.
Yes.
Because there is a large faction of NDPers who are disgruntled and frustrated. I have spoken to them. I see it. I hear it. The calls are coming from inside of the House, from people who want a strong progressive party in Canada. And they're frustrated and they want to hear from you authentically and directly. What do you say to these people other than, trust me, bro, I'm going to be prime minister?
Well, I would say we have given a track record that no other leader in recent history in the New Democrats can offer. A track record. Not even the amazing Jack Layton, epic Ed Broadbent. No one else has had a track record like we have of delivering for people.
So then why do so many people look back on those days?
They're amazing folks. They're epic people. Ed Broadbent was a mentor for me, someone who means a lot to me, but just evidence-based. We have delivered more recently than any other leader has.
Does it frustrate you that people don't see that or recognize that and look back?
I just want people to know, I don't think that's why people should vote for me. I think it's proof that when I say I want to deliver something else, they can trust me. It's actually much more concrete than anyone else can say in recent years. And the thing that people have seen about me recently, I think, is that while I am very proud of being someone that cares deeply about people, so my mom instilled in me this idea that we should see each other, everyone around us as one. And it's a big part of why I believe in radical empathy. You got to really believe that someone else is suffering, that means I'm suffering. And if I help people around me, I'm helping myself as well. We're all in this together. But I'm also a fighter. I fought my whole life. I fought as a kid. I fought bullies. I fought in the street.
You do jujitsu?
I do jujitsu. I was a jujitsu champion for years in my prime. Yeah, I've fought, and I fought in the courtroom. I fought provincially. I'm a fighter, and I always picked bigger opponents than me. When I was a provincial elected official, I took on the insurance companies. Those big buildings you see in every major city, those are insurance companies. I fought them. I'm ready to do that.
And let's see if you win that fight.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you one more hot seat question.
Go for it.
What are your favorite restaurants in Scarborough?
Oh, snap. There's an Ital restaurant, a veggie restaurant.
Okay.
It's a Caribbean spot, and it's my go-to when I'm in Scarborough.
What's it called?
I think it's called Ital.
Oh, Ital.
Ital veggie, yeah.
Okay.
It's...
favorite dosas?
Favorite dosa. My favorite dosa would probably be Mississauga.
Okay.
And it's called Guru Lakshmi's dosa. Okay. Probably one of the most delicious in the city.
Doubles.
Lena's Roti Shop, which is also in, I guess they have multiple locations. The one I go to is off the 401. I think it's in Mississauga as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Lena's doubles. I love doubles. I had that doubles in Trinidad and some yummy stuff.
Damn. I would love to have doubles in Trinidad. Honestly,
I like the random segue to food. That's great. I love good food.
There were a bunch of comments on the Reddit. This was upvoted.
Really?
They want to know where you're eating, man.
Oh, yeah. I love pizza. I'm obsessed with pizza.
Okay, pizza spot then?
I like Descendant Pizza. It's a Detroit style.
Okay.
I grew up in Windsor, so Detroit style is actually very close to my heart.
Jagmeet, thank you so much for making the time.
My pleasure.
You can't forget your car, though.
Oh, yes.
You can't forget it.
No. Thank you. I'm going to get in trouble. This looks like a very fancy sports car.
It does. Have you driven a car like this before?
No, I don't think so.
Me neither.
I've had maybe not as fancy, but I've had a Hot Wheel similar. This is going straight to my daughter. I think she's going to love it.
That's very cute. If you like this episode and like the fact that you can see my face, it's kind of creeping me out. Hit the like, comment, and subscribe button. And thanks for sticking around.
I already opened it up.
Stop.
Is that too soon?
Don't you pull it back, or does it?
No, it doesn't do that. But it's gliding really smooth.
The wheels look really nice.
Yeah, it's like a smooth ride. Oh yeah, that's nice.
I'm kind of jealous.
Of the present you got me?
Of the present I got you.
I appreciate that.